Danny, you're a big Raiders fan. And we, of course, talk a hell of a lot about Tom Brady. Fascinating guy. When you talk about greatness, we could all agree. Joel, I know you're a big TB12 fella.
Thought we were done.
The greatest.
Spot, you thought the Tom Brady was in the rear view.
I was so happy.
Nope.
Oh, God.
Man.
Yeah, you were thinking
No
broadcasting.
more- no
you
more
were
time.
thinking Raiders ownership.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea how many times I've typed the words Tom Brady into a podcast description.
He's taking. He's done for the year.
For
He's like
COVINO
taking a
Rich.
break.
By the way, you know
he's
who
retiring.
invented the term
He's-
GOAT? Do you know where that came from? Danny G. You might know this because you're a big hip-hop fan, too.
LL Cool J.
LL Cool
Yeah.
J coined the term, Rich. He popularized it.
I was unaware of that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he came out with an album, the GOAT, greatest of all time.
Oh,
Does he bring sides to the
LL Cool J absolutely has baked beans today.
He would have brought some collard greens.
Yeah, for
He'd
sure.
be licking his lips with all the meat that I've had.
And Fox in there. You know,
LL
that's what
loves
make him-
Now, when you talk about Tom Brady, we all know, the ownership role with the Raiders now. There's this new story emerging. Nick Cope, I know you touched on it, I'm sure, in updates over the past days. And Danny G, you're a Raiders fan, so I'm sure your fingers to the pulse of every Raiders update.
Been following it closely.
This Jimmy G may never play a game as a Raider narrative. Is this nonsense? Are we over-exaggerating this, Nick?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look at Jimmy G's injury history, right? I mean, this guy just struggles to stay healthy. I have the list right here. If you want me to run through it, I don't have to. But we can.
No. Give it to me. But the story today is that the foot injury is more serious than anyone ever thought, and he's yet to have passed like a proper physical.
And let's take that for a second, Danny, because as a Niners fan, there was the storyline of maybe he'd be back for the playoffs, which meant that was never going to be the case. Because if he's still not all right now, there was a moment where you're like, if Brock Purdy could get them
if
to
they won the NFC Championship game, that maybe he would have been available in the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Right. And this
Nick,
is all making sense now because, remember, the Raiders were going to introduce him at their headquarters, and it got delayed. And everybody was like, what's going on? Why the delay? And they never really came out and explained why, but the rumors were it had to do with the physical. And that's exactly what went down, Nick.
Yeah. He's had a tough time staying healthy. He had an ACL. He's had ankles that have cost him the end of seasons. Remember, the Niners probably would have traded him last offseason if not for that late shoulder surgery he got in the offseason. Ended up working out well for the Niners for the most part until in early December he got the foot injury.
So he finds himself always on the sideline. Now, we assumed, wow, handsome Jimmy G finds his way to Vegas. New start. He's a winner. You could say lateral move from Derek Carr, but what he may lack in the skill set of a Derek Carr, Jimmy G brings a winning attitude. He brings a vibe. The locker room always has his back. Everyone loves Jimmy Garoppolo. But now the storyline is perhaps Tom Brady's not done.
Man.
Is there, again, truth to this? It's sort of lining up where it does make sense.
Spot, what are the odds? There's odds out now?
The current odds, they have a list of possible or potential quarterbacks, and Tom Brady is at the top with 2-1 odds.
Because think
for him
about
to
it.
be the starting quarterback.
If Jimmy
next
G's
season.
not ready, hasn't passed the physical yet, it appears now, since Tom Brady's involved with minority ownership of the Raiders, that he's coming to save the day. It's not necessarily like I'm coming out of retirement.
Right.
It's like, well, hey, now that I'm involved, I'm doing what's best for the team. I guess I got to play. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Oh, he's playing savior, not like I'm coming. Oh, he's not coming back in the sense of like I'm unretiring. It's like I own this team. I got to do what's best.
I got to
protect
protect the team.
I got to protect my investment.
That's
Now,
the way it looks.
For Jimmy G to earn his money from the contract, he'd have to be on the roster 2 days after the season is done. So, that's where the Raiders could cut ties. Or Jimmy G played, and so he got on the field and everything is fine. But, yeah, obviously the first rumors that hit the internet fast and quick were, Tom Brady's going to be the savior. But it's interesting because we talked about this back when the rumors were that Brady was going to buy a little piece of the team from Mark Davis, and we wondered out loud, how does that affect his broadcasting career with Fox?
Yep.
And we came to find out from Dan Byer that, remember, you can't be an active owner. In other words,
He'd have to be a passive. He'd have to be like a silent partner, essentially.
Exactly. And I asked Nick this morning, how does it affect, quote-unquote, owner if you're on the field, also because you are directing the team to wins or losses. Yeah.
I'm the player owner.
But Nick, I guess the NFL would have to vote on this, right?
Yeah, so Jeff Darlington of ESPN put this out a week ago when news first surfaced that Tom Brady was entering a minority part of the ownership. NFL rules require a vote of all 32 teams to allow anyone to play while holding a financial interest in a club. So that 2-1 odds that Spot just mentioned, that does not line up with this rule because, what's the motivation for every other team to say, yeah, Tom Brady, go ahead and
it would be
play.
in their best interest to be like, no, I vote no.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for the
At the
sake of
last
it.
Tom Brady we saw, play him.
Here's the thought, though. Now, I'm thinking from the financials perspective. I know, Nick, this might be another reason why owners would vote no. What if Tom Brady's ownership, if he just declined payment, which would mean, imagine instead of paying a quarterback $25 to $45 million, well, the going rate for a Brady at this stage would be what, probably 30 to 40 something million, right? Imagine if Tom Brady said, what would be the word? I forego my salary in my ownership role, and now the Raiders have 40 extra mil to play with the salary cap. By Tom Brady doing, that's why every other owner would say, yeah, we're not. No, nope.
But doesn't it seem like it's just oddly lining up for this to be the outcome right now? You know, it just seems too perfect. Like, wait a second.
Brady.
Yeah, why is this all making sense? And
It's
how did
sort of
we
like
not
the
see this
Tuck rule.
happening?
Where'd this come from?
Yeah, well, it's funny because back in the day before he went to Tampa, when he was still on the heels of leaving New England, Dana White, I believe, was the one that said, I convinced Tom Brady to come to Vegas.
Yes.
And then it sort of all fell through. And now Dana White's saying, Tom Brady in Vegas, we're going to that was just the bro down. I can't wait to bro down with Brady. Dana White said, I'm going to be hanging with Tom as much as I could. He's greatness. He's a great friend. He just is a winner. And I do wonder if there's any chance you're going to see Tom Brady.
I think it all
in the
depends on his
silver and
physical,
black.
and it depends on the truth and severity of Jimmy G's foot, right? Like, what is the scoop, the real scoop on that? Why hasn't he passed his physical? Is he ever going to pass the physical?
When you say,
is he going to be? Who's the other option then?
when you say the foot,
yeah,
is it, Nick, the same injury that took him out in that Miami game up in the Bay Area in December? Is it just that lingering injury that's just taken a longer time to repair? Is it really just?
Yes, that was a pedal foot fracture is what that was from December. So, yeah, that's the implication that thing has not healed well.
So we're
to this
talking about
point.
a guy that we thought would potentially have been healed by February.
right.
It's now March, April, May.
And they're saying it
it's
hasn't.
3 to 4 months later, and now we're saying he's still not right. That's a little
Interesting.
concerning. That's a concerning thought.
And the reason Raider Nation is really upset about all this right now, even though the Raiders were smart enough to put this clause in the contract before they introduced him to the media, who is the backup for the Raiders right now?
TB12.
Brian Hoyer.
No, I know.
Yeah. So would you rather have Brian Hoyer or Tom Brady?
Brian Hoyer, Jimmy G,
5-2 odds for
Bob-
Brian Hoyer.
Tom Brady.
Oh,
These
man.
are New England Patriot quarterbacks like 15 years ago.